Hello and welcome to the Superintendent's Office, a show dedicated to spotlighting the great things happening in the public schools of Robeson County. I'm Tasha Oxendine. Today we have some very special guests joining us. We have Dr. Linda Emanuel. She's the Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum and Instruction for the public schools of Robeson County. We also have Dr. Keith Eades. He's a transformation coach with the North Carolina Department of Public Instruction, and he's partnering with Robeson County. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Historically, the education of a child, most people think of it as the role of the parents and the role of the teacher. But today we're going to talk about stakeholders. Dr. Emanuel and Dr. Eades, what are some of the stakeholders involved in the education of students in the public schools of Robeson County?
Well, the stakeholders, it covers a wide gamut. Most people, as you said, when you say stakeholders, you think of the parents, you think of the teachers, but we go broader. We think of the universities, we think of the colleges, we think of business and industry, we think of all the community agencies, we think of all of those in the community, the churches. And Keith, you may want to add, especially we think of specifically with our county, the North Carolina Department of Public Instruction, and they play a vital role as one of our major stakeholders in the teaching and learning process. And Keith probably would like to elaborate on that.
First of all, tell us, Dr. Eades, tell us about your partnership from Raleigh, from the Department of Public Instruction, first of all.
Okay, the North Carolina Department of Public Instruction supports education initiatives across the state. And specifically, our division is working with several school districts with a race to the top. And with that, it encompasses basically support for teachers to improve instruction and also professional development opportunities for all stakeholders. So it's not just working with as you said, parents and teachers, but also working with those principals to make sure we have the highest quality principals, and that, as Dr. Emanuel said, that's a true partnership that we enjoy with the Department of Public Instruction and the public schools of Robeson County.
So the Department of Public Instruction is truly one of the lead stakeholders to make sure that everything's in place. We have a superintendent, we have people overseeing what's going on, but the Department of Public Instruction is like a key hand in directing principals and what's happening in the classroom? That's
correct. And again, with the partnership, it is working hand in hand with principals, working hand in hand with teachers, with everyone that's involved with instruction in the public schools of Robeson County, because we're wanting to make sure across the state, and as you said, Department of Public Instruction is with all 115 school districts and charter schools across the state, and the goal is to ensure that students are successful, they're college and career ready when they graduate, and that's also an initiative of the governor as well with the college career readiness. So we look at best practices, again, working together with all school districts, and best practices for teaching and learning, the connections to school and life, and also working with the community to ensure that there's broad participation for the growth of a child.
Okay. Dr. Emanuel, you talked about community colleges and universities. We are here on the campus of UNC Pembroke taping this show. How do universities and community colleges play a key role as stakeholders?
Many ways. The university, especially this university, they work with us in the community. They help us in providing training for our teachers. They also help us with the recruiting efforts. We do have a major teacher shortage, and they work with us in the departments in helping us to find teachers as they would other districts as well. They work with us with the STEM initiatives like science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. They partner with us with grants. They support us with that. They also have like an unofficial speakers bureau. They go in and volunteer in our classes, speaking with our children about aspiring professions that they would like to be. And one thing that's very important in this location, our children are very interested in sports. They do a lot of sports camps for our children, so they're there and they offer a lot of incentive, role modeling for our children, especially the football team. Many of our children, they see it as a great incentive to get to even just come to a university and see a football game. So they partner a lot. Our children, they really think it's something big to come to the big university campus, to come and eat in the cafeteria. And they also, when we have project graduation, they get to come, you know, our seniors to the university, and they get to feel that campus life at least one night. So they do contribute a lot. As far as the college, the community college, we do have an early college on their site, and they do contribute a lot. Some of our own students, they take classes on that site, and when they finish, they will have an associate degree in whatever area they're choosing. Also, they too help us with STEM initiatives. There are a lot of things that they do. Both sites offer their facilities when we have large meetings, and they offer the community the facilities as well. So they're both integral parts of what we do as a school system and what we do as a community. They have vested interest in our school system. And needless to say, many of our students, they do come to our colleges and our universities.
And that must take a lot of networking with as large a district as we are, to network, to coordinate that sort of interaction between the colleges and universities.
It really does. We have a lot of committees. We have a lot of great relationships, great partners, a lot of people who are all working towards the same causes to make sure that our kids get a great education and also a great after high school education. So it does take a lot of initiative on both sides.
Like I was saying earlier, most people would think that it's the parent that spends most of the time with the child, helping that child after school. What would you recommend that parents do to become avid supporters of their child's education?
I think parents really have to become a partner with the school. They have to know what should he or she be learning in this grade level, be it in math, be it in science, be it in social studies. They should understand the skills that should be taught, should be learned. They also should take an avid role in saying, okay, I'm not a teacher, but what can I do at home to let that child see how those skills apply to real life? There should be active dialogue, active involvement in that school so parents can actually see this is what they're teaching. How can I bring that skill home to make sure that it becomes a life skill for my child? How can I make connections to what is being taught in school as to what is actually happening at home and will happen to my child in life now and in life later?
Would you suggest that parents talk to the educators in addition to helping with homework?
Absolutely, absolutely. But there's more to it than just helping them with homework. We want to ask parents to actually take an active role in understanding the process of educating a child. You know, going out talking with teachers, talking to administrators, becoming volunteers in the sports program, volunteers in the character education program, volunteers in reading, to actually, if they can spare the time, being volunteers in the actual school.
And I think piggybacking on what Dr. Emanuel's talking about, making sure that parents understand that it is a true partnership, and the public schools of Robeson County are deeply interested in the connection with the home, as Dr. Emanuel stated, working with reading, but also knowing what the expectations are for the school, and asking those questions. What can I do for my student at home to ensure they are college career ready? And I think that's increasingly important as we have new standards with the Common Core and Essential Standards, but also with a new initiative with Read to Achieve that's going to be very important with having children reading on grade level by grade 3. So what can you do from birth really until 3rd grade to ensure that students are having access to reading materials and on grade level by the time they get to in 3rd grade?
Let's talk about some other stakeholders. What about churches? With the separation of church and state, how can faith-based organizations become stakeholders in the classroom, helping in the schools?
I think teaching core values, as you have indicated, we have to keep the church and state separated because that's federal law, but core values are universal. A sense of right and wrong, a sense of respect, a sense of honesty. Anyone can teach that. Business and industry, our faith-based organization. I think also things like the dangers of drugs, making right decisions, going to school, being career or college ready, as Dr. Eades has said. Those are things that the faith-based organization can help with. Those are things that are generic to all children, all beliefs, all religions, because we want to make sure that our children are good citizens, and those are things that we encourage our faith-based organizations to do. One thing specifically is school attendance, and, you know, not being tardy. Those are things that we really encourage our civic groups and churches to say to children, please be on time, please go to school, please do your homework. Good things that you would teach a worker to do in an organization. We hope those are things that all the civic groups and the faith-based organizations would help us to teach our children.
And I think another connection too is that every school has a school improvement plan, and one of those components includes parent involvement and community involvement, and even looking at some connections with faith-based organizations, and maybe having a center where students can come and do homework, maybe perhaps even have internet access for students that may not have that access at home, to be able to take advantage of those opportunities as well. So there's a lot that can be done and is being done around the county. So I guess a question would be, what kind of partnerships can we look forward to maybe expand that access where you do have the faith-based organizations and civic organizations supporting?
All right, that sounds great. Well, we're getting ready to take a break, but when we come back, we'll talk more about the stakeholders who are playing a serious and responsible role and making a difference in the public schools of Robeson County.
It's getting late, real late, and you have a lot of work to do. Your assignments are due in the morning, but you'll wait till the last day to do it. Instead of doing your work, you'll head for a party and forget all about your assignments. It's now 5:30 in the morning, and would you have time to finish your assignments after you partied so hard? I don't think so. Don't be a procrastinator. Do your homework.
WNCP Radio The Hawk is the place to go to hear about what's going on campus and for the hottest new music and the best shows. Listening online is super easy. All you have to do is go to uncp.edu, find WNCP Radio at the bottom of the scroll down menu, and click on the live link. With new shows every week, it's always a good time to listen. While you're listening, you should like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter to always know what's happening with WNCP Radio The Hawk.
All right, and welcome back to the Superintendent's Office. Today we have joining us Dr. Linda Emanuel and Dr. Keith Eades, and today we're talking about stakeholders, community partners who are assisting with the education of children in the public schools of Robeson County. We've been talking about stakeholders. What strategies should we use to draw these needed stakeholders into our educational arena? How are you all working about that to make opportunities and seek out other stakeholders and partners?
First of all, I think let's go to our individual schools. Each school they need to determine, or they do determine, what are our needs. For example, safety. You know, we're all concerned, and that's our foremost in our mind, making sure our kids are safe. They may need a cross guard wall person. They may need the police to help with the traffic. They determine their own needs, and then they seek out those resources that they would need for those, to secure those things. They make it known to the public. They go visit those people who can offer those services, and then they actually recruit those people based on the needs. Now, do we turn away anyone who would come and say, I would like to donate this, or I have 30 people would like to read to your children? Absolutely not. We accept all reputable people who would like to come and be part of the school system and help children. We do. But there are certain things that we do try to get out and recruit and solicit and bring them into our schools. We do that district-wide. Example, with the grant writing, there are needs that we have, and we go out and seek partnerships to help us with that. Each school will have basic needs. They may have needs for sports equipment, and they go out and seek those. They may have needs for some specific training in some sports arena, and they may come to the university, or they may go to some other area and seek someone with the professional skills to help them. So they actually have to go out and recruit those things, those stakeholders that they need, and try to recruit as well those partnerships that they need. So we do a lot of recruiting and bigging.
And I think connection to that too, again, going back to the college and career promise, and as well, thinking specifically about career and technical education, and really looking for those partnerships within the community where students can shadow, mentor, and understand what those particular careers are. But those are true partnerships that are needed all the time, especially again with our high schools and middle schools when they're thinking about more intentionally those career choices and the exposure to what's out there, so that they can better be informed in terms of their course of action as they enter high school, and even, like I said, pre-high school, but even thinking elementary as well. I mean, you have some of those introductions where you have parents and businesses that talk about their jobs and their work, and civic organizations, those connections with thinking about service-oriented projects that students may be engaged with, which they could utilize in avenues outside of school, which may be scouting or Boys and Girls Clubs, things along those lines, where they can really have a true mentor or partnership or idea or access of what careers are.
And I'd like to follow up on what Keith's saying as well. Around February the 2nd, Groundhog's Day, of course, we have the job shadowing, and we do have our 8th graders and sometimes 9th graders that they go out, and many of our business and industry, they go out and actually dress up and shadow the bosses or the different jobs that they have within their industry. And it's a great incentive, as Eades alluded to about the career. What is it I want to be when I grow up? We have children in bankers, being in the bank. We have children in the hospitals. We have children in all kinds of work locations, just trying to see what is it that I want to go to school to be. So it is an interesting.
Right, and I think that partnership extends beyond students as well. I remember, I think it was last summer, my first summer I was partnering with the district. There was a group of teachers that spent time going into different businesses, talking with the owners, the managers, so that they could get a better connection of how their instruction impacts what students will actually need to be able to do in the job. So that's a valuable tool, and that's a great partnership that's already in existence throughout the county. So that's a great opportunity to extend beyond just students, but that is a partnership.
And it is key, even though we are in the 21st century. We are one of the largest counties in the state, but we're still very rural. I'm sure that we have students out there that they might see, a role model as a farmer, or maybe a policeman, or just somebody, a school bus driver, and they need to get out and see those role models and people, those jobs that are opportunities for them to look forward to. What are some of the other stakeholders out there that they are not so visible and they could maybe be behind the scenes and not necessarily be so active or necessarily working in the classroom?
Well, that one that comes to mind in particular is the partnership kind of behind the scenes, the exploration station in downtown Lumberton, where students really take advantage of the amenities that are provided there, and the partnership that the public schools has with a particular section of that exhibit. That's a partnership that you really don't hear a whole lot about, but it is something that our community takes pride in and takes advantage of.
And one great big effort, the Special Olympics. You do not see a lot of people who pull that together. It's an expensive endeavor and it's worthwhile, but a lot of people contribute funds for the ribbons, the food, setting up the tracks, and you never see those people. So that's one that we're very proud of, and you do not, like I say, you see a lot, you feel the invisible partners, the stakeholders.
And that makes a difference for
Yes,
the
it is.
children, whether they see it or not.
Right.
And an extension of that too would be, for instance, some of the civic groups that provide books and resources and contributions of a lot of different varieties to support whatever the needs are for a particular school.
And I also wanted to go on further with that. When we had the hurricane that hit some of our schools in the southern part of the county, we had some business and industry members. They couldn't give food. I mean, they couldn't give monies, but they did release some of their workers to come and help with the cleanup efforts. So those are powerful things that money really can't buy.
That's tremendous. And I recently heard that we have one church in our community that brings goodies out to the teachers every month, to the staff, to just give them a pat on the back. And they also recently gave book bags to the students to kick off the school year. And so that's a tremendous effort.
Our community, in the business and industries and civic groups and many others, do a super job with incentives for our students, our teachers, and any others, children in need. They do a super job with incentives. That's probably one of the strongest areas that we get help from with it, would be incentives for children.
And that's tremendous in such a rural county.
It is.
We've talked about motivating stakeholders and how important that is. Let's explore another avenue, the children themselves. How can we motivate our students to become more attuned to their own learning and to buy into their own education?
Well, I'll start that. That's a big area. But I would say, first of all, we have to engage children. The methods that we used to teach in the 60s, it will not work now. Kids are into technology. We have to take that tool that they enjoy so much, and we have to use that as a teaching modality. We have to, of course, as I've said, take their areas of interest and use that to teach them and engage them. As much as possible, we have to bring them in and say to them, okay, this is what we're learning, this is what we're going to do, what would you like to add to this process? You know, let them give input where they can. But don't forget that, you know, that we have to add structure, and we do have a state curriculum. We have to always remember that. We have to look at the learning styles. If I can't get little Tasha to learn this way, what other way can I do to get little Tasha? So just teaching as it was in the 60s, it's so different now. We have to fashion like a pattern everything we do to meet the individual child, but we must be somewhat of an entertainer as well. So.
Right, and I think tying back to the technology piece, the students are so connected, our world is so connected now that we can't go back to the way instruction used to be and takes children 6.5, 7 hours a day out of their normal environment where they have access. So that is important to make sure that we are using technology, but also I think a connection to with motivation is helping students see the relevance of why they're learning what they're learning. As Dr. Emanuel stated, the North Carolina Standard Course of Study has undergone a huge overhaul in the past year. And one of the expectations is that there is that relevance, that connection. It's like Dr. Emanuel and I say all the time, the so what? Why am I learning this? So I think with that motivation piece of students understanding, okay, I know why I'm learning this, and this is going to apply to a real world situation in this way. So when students are able to kind of tap into their own energies and their own creativity to solve real world problems with the content that they're learning, that's a huge motivator.
Talking about community partners and stakeholders, if you could put together a slogan to sell your platform for involving stakeholders in the education of our students in the public schools of Robeson County, what would it be called?
I'll go first. I think if I could put a slogan together, I would say, and thinking about the vested interest that the stakeholders we all have in education of our children, I would probably say, let's all put our heads together to see what we can do to better educate our children. That would be my slogan.
Mine is not new. It goes back to, I guess, the 90s, early 90s, but it takes a village to raise a child. And when we think about village, we're talking about all the stakeholders, the faith communities, the civic organizations, the school, the parents, the students. So all of those come together to make a well-rounded student that's able to function well in the world.
And you've talked about so many today. I mean, it's really surprising to see the number of people out in the community that are making a difference for these children every day in the classroom, and that's so appreciated. I mean, all across the district. There's so many. It would make, we're a rural county and we're a poorer county, but without those, it would be a great deficit for our students. It really would.
Yeah, and parents want their children to be successful. Students want to be successful, even though sometimes they may give the implication that they do not. But they all want the best for themselves and parents for their children. So the more that students see that connection and that with the community and the school is tremendous in making productive citizens.
And I think, regardless if times have changed, all parents still want their children to have an education. They still want their children to be prepared for life. But now they have so many choices, more choices than we had in earlier times. So they had some hard decisions to make, whether I want to be college ready or do I want to be career ready.
And that makes all the difference. I mean, it really does for us. And we thank you for joining us today. That's about all the time that we have. We'd like to thank Dr. Linda Emanuel and Dr. Keith Eades for joining us today with some great information about stakeholders. And if you would like to be a stakeholder with your children's school, just call out to your child's school and see what you can do. With 24,000 children in the public schools of Robeson County, there's always something great going on in the district. Be sure to follow us on the web for news from each school, and in the Aware magazine, and also on Facebook and Twitter for daily events which are going on in the district. And if the opportunity arises for you to read to a child, it's a great opportunity because you never know what difference it'll make. Have a great week.